Hey guys, Tarke here, and I'm going to quickly make a map, talk about layering defenses on my pretty Namhu character. So, the reason why I'm making this video is my good friend Scaff. So, Scaff plays softcore, and he plays, I'll do it later, with a few of my regulars from my stream, people from my guild, and he's been rather infuriating recently. I actually want that, so I'll give up for that. So what he's been doing is he's been ignoring the advice of people trying to help him. And I've also had a few people today whisper me saying, "Oh, Tarke, you seem to know what you're doing. How do I make my builds tankier?" Now, hopefully I'll rip during this, just because it'd be kind of ironic. But there are a few very cheap ways of layering defense in the Abyss League. So, if anyone is playing a Slayer currently, and you're not using the Writhing Jar unique flask when you have the opportunity to use it, you're doing something wrong in my opinion. So some of you might have noticed right away that, hang on, why are you using that Mimi flask? So Slayers have this whole overleech mechanic, and we also gain bonus damage if we have killed recently. So the whole thing, which is pretty nice about this Writhing Jar, is whenever I activate it, I shoot out some worms. The worms have very little HP, I instantly kill the worms, and then all of a sudden, oh look, we have lots and lots of very tasty overleech, and also we gain a bunch of more damage, which is very helpful for bossing, because you don't normally have that always active while bossing. Another just small nice thing about that flask in my current build is anyone who knows Cyclone and plays a lot of Cyclone knows that with Cyclone, you can quite easily make yourself go if you spin too aggressively, especially into stuff like totems. Why is that so loud? Since you can't leech against some mobs, right? So this instantly gives me some mana, so it actually removes one of the drawbacks of Cyclone. So I've got a flask, which always activates my super leech, and always gives me overkill damage, which is very handy on bosses, and is always a nice way of, making sure I don't ever degen to blood rage, because this is a Vol-packed Slayer build. So, that is just one small example of a not-so-obvious way of increasing your defense in Abyss League. The other one, which basically everyone should be using, is Blind. So if you're a build which hits mobs in any way whatsoever, even minions can utilize this very well. There are abyssal jewels with the mods, blind enemies on hit, minions blind enemy on hit, minions have a chance to taunt enemies on hit. These are all chance based, and my build currently has 3 abyssal jewels, giving a roughly 5%-ish chance to blind enemies on hit. This is kind of overkill, to be honest. You only need like 5 to 10%, but I currently have 15%, and that means that whenever I spin over a pack of mobs, I blind the pack of mobs, and blind is pretty good defensively. If something's blinded, they're less likely to hit me, and because the way of action and all this other stuff works, and the fact that I also use a Blasphemy and Feeble, this actually gives me a lot of substantial protection against stuff like crit, because crit checks against accuracy and evasion and all of that. Good. So, for any Slayers out there, if you were to equip a Writhing Jar and a few blind jewels, then you've instantly gained 2 very strong forms of mitigation, and it also means that if you have blind on jewels, you then don't need to run a Stibnite Flask. So anyone currently running a Stibnite Flask, get some blind jewels, you can then drop the Stibnite Flask. Now, a certain Rise Qt fellow swears by Granite Flasks. I've always been pretty, iffy about granites, since I'm someone who normally only ever plays, acro evasion bow builds. So the idea of, well, why would anyone ever run a Granite Flask? Lol, armor's terrible meme. Well, armor is a weird one. Armor is actually pretty good against most things when it comes to, general mapping, because most things are small hits. And anyone who's played a lot of Abyss League knows that most of Abyss is just lots of really obnoxious physical hits. So, if you can just fit in a single Granite Flask somewhere in your build, suddenly, oh, well, that's basically a lot of mobs which previously were kind of annoying, don't really do very much. Now, granites aren't going to help you against, anything spoopy, like, big, scary one-shots, but they help mitigate lots and lots of small hits. So anyone previously running a Stibnite Flask, take that out, boom, put in a Granite. Basalts. Basalt Flasks are something that people should always run. A lot of people don't like running them. Run a Basalt Flask. They're good. I know a lot of softcore boyos will be like, "But Tarke, I use 57 offensive flasks, woohoo!" Maybe try and fit in a single Basalt, or if you can't do that, fit in a Taste of Fate, because Taste of Fate still gives you damage. And that's just one other easy way of layering defensey boys. So, backtracking a little bit. Going to the whole, like, blind and taunt thingy. So, minions are pretty popular because, you know, minions are pretty good. If you're any summoner boyos, any SRS boyos out there, taunt on hit duels doesn't work with SRS for reasons. I was watching Uber's stream and I asked him about it. He said, no, it doesn't work, but you can still get blind on hit. If you are playing a normal, like, Spectre build, you can get your Spectres to taunt on hit. If you don't know, whenever an enemy is taunted, it does 10% less damage to everything which didn't taunt it. So, even if you're like instantly one-shotting bosses and so forth, if you're using like Solar Boys, you know, the Solar Boyos, and they taunt the boss, that means that boss is then doing 10% less damage to you. Now, taunt doesn't work on everything. It doesn't work on Shaper, and there is for some reason a map mod, which means that minions can't be monsters can't be taunted. Don't know why it exists, but it does exist. That's just a small thing that you can fit into any build and get kind of a substantial amount of mitigation. This is also true of a decoy totem. If you drop a decoy totem on a boss, that boss will then do 10% less damage to you because it's been taunted. It's just how it works. So you can instantly get 10% mitigation on any boss except for Shaper. I don't know about Guardians, but against most bosses, map bosses anyway, that's instant 10% mitigation that you can fit into any and every single build. Just something to kind of think about. What other easy ways are there of getting defense in Abyss League that you normally couldn't? So, anyone who's got the option of using a rare shield, there is a criminally underrated mod available through both Elder and Shaper, which is gain X% of X on block. So, gain percentage of life on block, gain percentage of mana on block, gain percentage of energy shield on block. This is just a rare mod. No one really uses these kinds of shields. You can very, very easily pick up a shield which is like flat life on block, percent life on block. If you just have like a 25% block shield, and then you could maybe fit in a Roomies into your build, possibly, maybe not. But even without it, you're then suddenly looking at, you know, 25 to 50-ish, roughly, percent chance to gain a percentage of your life, mana, ES on block. Now, this is handy even for builds which don't stack life. Let's say you're playing the average, like, Mom Miner. If you can get a good shield base, work out what you want, you know, mana on block, life on block, etc. Get the appropriate Elder or Shaper base. Make sure it's the right item level. Again, PvE affix if you want to refresh yourself on any of the Elder tier lists, like what can and can't roll. Pick up a essence of something or another, and you can get guaranteed 100% spell crit, since most miners are spell crit, GC mines basically. You can just throw a couple of those onto the correct shield base until you hit gain percentage on block. If you're then playing a miner, and all of a sudden, oh look, every time I block, I just bump up a bunch of my mana, it's pretty ezzy-pezzy. There's also the Watcher's Eye jewels. Watcher's Eye is one of the unique jewels which drops off of Elder. There are lots of powerful combinations. The main thing they do is, like, if while affected by X aura, you gain a bonus. A few of the popular ones recently is gain a bunch of energy shield while affected by clarity. While there's ones which is you have a chance to gain 10% of your mana whenever you use a skill. If you can snipe one of those for cheap, that is huge for any miner out there. Another very powerful item that you can purchase from anyone who's farmed Elder is the Presence Amulet. Currently, in hardcore anyway, the Lightning Presence Amulets cost absolutely nothing. You can pick them up for like less than 50C. What they do is there's one of each element, or each damage type, so it also affects physical and chaos. 100% reduced reservation of the relevant curse. So for example, the lightning one gives you 100% reduced reservation on conductivity, meaning you can get a free blasphemy conductivity into your build. A few other stats, has life, resistance, whatever. But the main thing on that, which is really cool, it has a thing called Maddening Presence. Whenever you kill a rare or unique enemy, you gain Maddening Presence for 10 seconds. Maddening Presence is this like AoE aura around your character, and whenever you kill a rare or unique for the next 10 seconds, you get a aura around your character, which makes enemies deal 10% less damage and move 10% slower. So basically it's like a mix of Attempt, Chains, and Enfeeble all in one. It's pretty powerful. This also gives you a free Blasphemy, which if you are then a Mom build, you know, you couldn't previously get easy access to, you know, Blasphemy Curses for, because you can't fit Blasphemy Curse into a thingy ring, Essence Worm ring. Even for non-Mom builds, it's pretty powerful because that's suddenly a bunch of mana that you can spend on something else. On my Corsicara character, what I did is I had a 5-link setup spare, where I had Blasphemy, Despair, Temporal Chains, Increased AoE, and Enhance. Enhance increases the quality of the curses, and quality on curses is generally the most powerful thing you can do to buff them up. Get a little bit of curse effect on the tree, and because the in Presence I was using gave me a free Despair, what happened was I could have a crazy linked up Despair, and it would always cost 0. And then the extra reservation price on my Temp Chains didn't matter, because I was getting 1 curse for free. Pretty good. One thing you might have noticed just intermittently throughout the map is I pop Val Grace every now and again. If you can fit a single Val Grace into your build, you're gaining 30, I think it's 34% if you just have Val 21, 34% chance to dodge attacks and spells, has a base duration of 6, link it to increased duration, and you have a 10-second buff. That's enough time to kill any boss, any map boss anyway. Fit one of these into your build, and look, now the thing is less likely to hit you, so you can start layering into other things. So, very briefly, use things which aren't just life, you know, think a little bit. Scaff, stop being a dipshit. Don't drop life pots if you play anything which isn't, you know, softcore. I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Sorry for the rambles. Bye-bye.